many people have seen this quote? What the cell is to the body, the site is to the region. I see a few heads nodding. You know, it's 10 years ago since Patrick Condon said it, but you know, that's the essence of what we're talking about, right? So if you think about some of the presentations this morning, and you know, it can be either cumulative impacts or cumulative benefits, right? It's one side at a time. So just kind of hold that thought in your mind as a quotation. And you know, in terms of simplifying what we're talking about, you know, it's all about where and how land is developed. And so when you think of the two sides of the equation, the water supply and the runoff side, you know, the common denominator is soil. So if you think about, you know, that if you've got that foot of soil as a requirement in terms of your land development, you know, it's the sponge. And what does that do? Well, you use less water to water your plants and garden, and you know, it doesn't run off. So we have to think simply in terms of the relationship between water and land, and the sustainability on the supply side, and the sustainability on the runoff side in terms of habitat. So a key message, so again, here we are engineers saying, mimic the environment, right? So in terms of what we're about, a big part of it is establishing the common vocabulary, because you know, there's so many words tossed around, so many technoid type words, buzzwords, and we've begun the process of trying to simplify the language and develop a common understanding. And these four words are cascading. And green value is actually a term that was coined by Chris Court. And you know, the way I kind of distill it, my way of understanding is that at the core of it all, it's really about a valuation methodology, you know, because Chris basically, I guess, is a quantity surveyor, accountant type background, and it's kind of putting in value to the environment. That's part of it. I find that the term green value resonates more with the the private sector in terms of a financial motivator. Design with nature. How many people have heard of design with nature, know the origin of it? Just have a show of hands. How many people have ever heard of Ian McCard? One person. So really, we're recycling in a way, or not recycling, but bringing back a fundamental piece of language from the 1960s, from when McCard wrote his book called Design with Nature, about 67 or 68. And so that's really the essence of our philosophy. That's what you said in your first slide. And you know, design with nature and green infrastructure really is the application of design with nature policies and practices and standards. You know what? If you implement green infrastructure, one of the outcomes is water sustainability. It comes back to my example about the soil, right? It's the sponge. So just keep those words in your head, in your minds about green value, design with nature, green infrastructure, water sustainability. They're all linked. It's cascading. It's a bit of a hierarchy. So what do we mean by design with nature approach to community design? Well, what we've done basically is we've translated that smart growth language into something that people can really grasp with their minds around, almost like engineering-centric language, right, when we talk about having a clear verb. Because what we find is if you use that smart growth language, it actually gets people's backs up. But what we're talking about is really some of the common sense stuff, which is, you know, develop the compact, complete communities, increase the transportation options, right? Reduce the loads on water, wastewater, and energy systems, kind of basic. But still, the conversation always seems to come back to water. And 2 years ago, I did a series of interviews with what we called our ad hoc mayors and chairs focus group, and I led them through this whole design with, or sort of question process. Never once mentioned water, and they always brought it back to water. And that's how people do relate to things, right? So it's that, you know, the green space issue and striving for a lighter hydrologic footprint. I mean, now we talk about eco footprints and all this kind of stuff. Well, the lighter hydrologic footprint. And at the end of the day, what does it help you do? It's achieving higher levels of receiving water protection. Isn't that the theme of a lot of the discussion today? So in terms of CAVI and in terms of the program and what we set out to accomplish, not so long ago, Eric, in year one, I mean, literally we exceeded our own expectations because we did not expect to accomplish what we did last year. In fact, Chairman John, one of his, I think it was the one of the showcasing series, you got up and said it's 2009 and 2007 because in terms of what we set out to do, you know, we were at a point where we thought it would take 3 years. So that's how rapidly things are moving in terms of the leadership on the island to do something different. So just to quickly recap, last June we, on a Sunday, people actually gave up their Sundays to come out to a workshop. And that really gave us that launch in order to develop the rest of the year, which was in September, October, the Showcasing Green Infrastructure Innovation Series. And I'm just looking around because Kate Miller, there you are, Kate, Couch and Valley was a host of that. And that then created the momentum then to carry on to, in partnership with the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities. I'm looking at Barry Avis, Councillor Barry Avis of Qualicum Beach, because you were part of that June event, and you said, I'm on the CAVI I'm an ADICC executive, the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities, and that brought the two groups together in order to co-host an event. So, at the end of the year, we're saying, well, we did accomplish a lot. So just to elaborate very briefly on what we mean, because these are all people-centric events, and that's part of the secret of what we're doing, is not going out presenting at people and delivering a program, but going out and having the conversations and listening to people and then connecting the dots. It's the connecting of the dots that creates the power. And that's really the significance of the showcasing series, which Eric introduced, and the fact that it was a North of the Malahat series, let's be blunt about that in terms of the three valleys, and really was creating the venue, the platform, the forum for people to tell their own stories. There is no other opportunity like we did in terms of these day events, where in the morning we call it the insight part, because the host, local government, told their stories about the things which they were doing, which they thought were innovative, and then we hopped on the bus, and then we went and looked at things, and the real teaching, the real learning took place on the bus or wherever we stopped. And so you'll see also in this slide the themes, that when we asked each of the hosts, well, what's going to be the unifying theme for your day? And we see with Comox Valley, it's connecting to sustainability. Nanaimo region was design with nature, and finally, Couch and Valley, partnership, collaboration, moving from concept to reality. That was part of showing the linkage between the Couch and Valley Water Management Plan, which you heard mentioned this morning, to some of the things that are beginning to happen on the ground. And it was a way of bringing together people from those three regions, because the way we had it structured was each of the regional districts was the host, but each of those regional districts partnered with a municipality. In the case of Couch and Valley, you partnered with Duncan and District of North of Couch, and so it was a sharing experience. And really, that was the goal, was to build capacity by bringing people together so they could tell their stories, because people learn from storytelling. But it's not just the storytelling, it's going out there and kicking the dirt and talking about the little things that you'd never think to talk about in making a presentation like today. But it's all around this theme of finding the examples of what people are beginning to do, so that what is now market niche becomes market share, as Patrick Conn would say, over time. So coming out of that then was the collaborating with the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities, with the elected officials. So that in itself was a breakthrough. And really what we wanted to do was to start the conversation. And I'm not saying as eloquently as Eric said, but to start the conversation about what, don't worry, I'll be done in 5 minutes. What is a positive settlement strategy? Get people thinking about it. And one of the amusing aspects of the leadership forum, well, actually, the first part was the difficult part, was on December 3rd. Does anybody remember what happened on December 2nd? That was that big snowstorm, right? So in terms of our event, only 2/3 of the people made it, which was remarkable. But we also lost a lot of our key people in terms of our facilitators. So it wasn't quite the conversation we would have liked, but still, you have the event, you're on the record, you're able to say, we've started the conversation. We're not saying what the solution is, because we have to have the conversations, but really it's about this theme of balance between settlement and ecology. So in 2008, as we look ahead to this year and trying to keep on raising the bar in terms of what the program elements are and the new business as usual, well, first thing is the guidebook. You heard reference to the guidebook. I'm looking at the back because I see Peter Law back there who's going to follow us. And Peter Law was the chair of the steering committee that I developed storm planning, a guidebook for British Columbia. And so here we are 6 years later. The lessons that we've learned over the last 6 years, we're incorporating those lessons learned in what we're calling Beyond the Guidebook. And it's more than just the guidebook. It's about livable communities and protecting stream health. Critical. And in terms of the rollout, rather than going and presenting to people, what we're in the early stages of talking right now with Couch and Valley and City Nanaimo and with the communities in the Comox Valley is a pilot outreach